Good morning, everyone. My name is Laura Tyson. I'm a professor at Haas. I had the pleasure of once being a dean at Haas. And when I was a dean, one of the things I helped start is what became the Global Social Venture Competition. So I'm really thrilled to be here today. I'm also thrilled because I'm going to introduce a very good friend of mine and a colleague of mine who I had the honor of first meeting back in the early 2000s when I went to London Business School. And we have done many things together since, and that is your distinguished speaker this morning, Amr Al-Dabbagh. Amr Al-Dabbagh is truly, and there's a book up here, an omnipreneur. That is, he brings entrepreneurial spirit to everything he does. And everything he does includes the highest level of leadership in business, in government, in philanthropy, in his family, and his life. He is the chairman and CEO of Al Jabar Group. It's a diversified conglomerate. It has companies in more than 60 countries. It really is a family, privately held business with global reach. So that is a major part of what he does. But he also was a very important government official for 8 years in Saudi Arabia. He had a ministerial position. He reported directly to the king. He headed the Saudi Arabia Government General Investment Authority. And as the head of that, he really built an entrepreneurial spirit in Saudi Arabia. I was there several times at his summits, and we had teams, entrepreneurial teams, coming through and talking about their business ideas and their business successes. But also he set as a goal, and he always sets very ambitious goals, very, very ambitious goals. This was to take Saudi Arabia and to raise Saudi Arabia, it's called the 10 by 10 initiative, to among the top 10 most competitive investment destinations by 2020. When he left that office, he had gotten them to the 11th position, and there had been dramatic progress. So again, entrepreneurial, goal setting, government experience at the highest level. And then philanthropy. You'll hear a lot about his philanthropic activity today. We are involved at Haas at the University of California, Berkeley with one of those, Philanthropy University. He brings to his multifaceted philanthropic activities the entrepreneurial perspective. How do you build capacity? How do you scale? How do you sustain? How do you innovate? How do you use technology to solve the problems of the most disadvantaged populations? For example, his STARS Foundation has been supporting locally led solutions for disadvantaged children in the 100 countries with the highest under 5 mortality rate. And it's on track for the goal of supporting 20 million children in some way by 2020. So we are really honored today to kick off the last day of the GSVC with someone who has been committed in his life to entrepreneurship, innovation, making the world a better place, and bringing to whatever he does an entrepreneurial spirit. So now, I will also say he is a friend of mine. I had the honor of working with him many years at the London Business School. I've seen how effective he can be with educational institutions. I had the honor of chairing or co-chairing many high-level summits that he held in Jeddah and Saudi Arabia. I will say in passing that I think he was the first person to have on the stage in Saudi Arabia a woman chairing part of a conference, or all of a conference, Right. And he has his lovely daughter here as well. And anyway, I really can't tell you how personally delighted I am to introduce to you my friend, my colleague, and an inspirational figure in entrepreneurship, Amr Al-Dabbagh. Amr.
Well, thank you very much, Laura, for the warm welcome and the introduction. I'm so honored and excited to be here today. I'm going to talk about omnipreneurship, which is the title of my latest book, please feel free to take a complimentary copy on your way out. But why omnipreneurship? Today, the world is facing lots of challenges. Some of you probably have seen the Oxfam report and the shocking statistics it has recently shared. 8 men on our planet have the same value of wealth that 3.7 billion people have. 770 million people live on less than $2 per day. The bottom 50% of the global population have experienced zero growth in their income over the last 3 decades. The top 1% experienced over 300% growth in their income over the last 3 decades. So massive inequality. And when we look at health, every 22 seconds, a child dies out of preventable diseases. So by the time our session is over, regrettably, at least 200 children will be dead. 80% of death in the third world countries is largely associated to water-related illnesses. Women in the third world spend at least 120 million hours a day transporting and collecting water. When we look at climate change, 250 million people will be displaced by 2050 due to climate change. And when we talk about education, at least 120 million children are out of school today. So today, more than ever, we need to look at things with a holistic and an inclusive lens. And omnipreneurship can help you contribute, even in a small way, and make your life more effective and have you manage your time in a more efficient manner. After all, we have very little time. And for me, death is my ultimate motivation because I have very limited time left. Today, we spend 25 years of our life sleeping, 3.6 years eating, 9 years watching TV. We spend 1.5 years in the bathroom, of which 92 days on the toilet. So almost 50% of our time. So how can we make the remaining 50% effective and contribute to building a better world? Mm-hmm. But each and everyone can make a difference and become a contributor to building a better world and making this ripple effect. So what is omnipreneurship? Omnipreneurship is an approach to living a life of meaning that consists of 3 principles, 5 values, and 10 golden rules. They apply to all aspects of life: government, business, not-for-profit, family, and individuals. The omnipreneurship ecosystem consists of these 3 principles, 5 values, and 10 golden rules. The foundation of it is the 3 principles: giving, earning, and sustaining. Everything we do in life is either giving or earning or sustaining. An omnipreneur balances his life around these 3 principles. Giving is not only restricted to monetary giving. We give time, we give energy, we give love, we give respect. Earning is also not restricted to earning, to monetary earning. We earn knowledge, we earn respect. And then sustaining, we sustain our life, we sustain our health, we sustain our family, we sustain our community, our planet. So everything we do in life is either giving, earning, or sustaining. An omnipreneur is a person who balances his life around these 3 principles. An omnipreneur lives 5 values and practices 5 values. And these are the values an omnipreneur will never breach. The first one is integrity. If it's not right, don't do it. If it is not true, don't say it. Very simple. The second value is passion. One person with passion is better than 40 merely interested. A third value of omnipreneurship is respect. Respect for ourselves guides our morals. Respect for others guides our manners. And the next value is forward thinking. We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we started them. And finally, teamwork. Alone we can do so little, and together we can do so much. So an omnipreneur not only balances his or her life around giving, earning, and sustaining, but also practice these 5 values. The 10 golden rules are tools the omnipreneur uses to accelerate success, to accelerate the impact. And the first golden rule is I aim, therefore I am. And the whole idea of this rule is to establish the finish line first, and then work backward. So I captured in chapter 3 of the book the story of Diana Nayad, a swimmer who always dreamt of swimming from Cuba to Florida. And she established this finish line when she was a teenager. She tried in her 20s, she failed. In her 30s, she failed. In her 40s, she failed. In her 50s, she failed. And when she reached 64, she decided to give it another shot. Her physician, her team, her coach told her it's physically impossible. But she was determined because she established this finish line when she was a teenager, and she was determined to accomplish it. 31st of August, 2013, 5 o'clock in the morning, she started her swim from the shores of Cuba. 55 hours later, she made it to the shores of Florida at the age of 64. So this is the power of I aim, therefore I am. This is the power of establishing a finish line and working backward. It creates what I like to call in the book the purifying pressure. In my family, we are applying I aim, therefore I am. I have 32 nephews, nieces, including my 5 children. And we have introduced an initiative called Club 32. We named it after the 32 members of the 3rd generation. And we are promoting a culture of goal setting. And we have created a template that is designed around giving, earning, and sustaining. And it includes 10 criteria. Every one of these 10 criteria is either giving, earning, or sustaining. And we set life goals, 2020 goals, and we refresh the annual goals. The annual goals feed into the 2020 goals. The 2020 goals feed into our life goals. And we have a reward system in the family. On a quarterly basis, the ones that achieve most green, we have a traffic light system to assess the delivery of the goals. We reward those on a quarterly basis who achieve the most green. So this is a very impactful tool an omnipreneur uses. A simple one-page life plan that captures the very few critical goals you would like to have in life. We tend to live lives in compartments. When we are young, it's playing and studying. When we are adults, working. And when we get older, it's time to give back and become socially responsible and give back to the community. An omnipreneur lives a life that is balanced and be part of everything that is giving, earning, and sustaining that is captured in this plan. The next golden rule is the greatest among you. It is important that you surround yourself with uplifting people. The omnipreneur always surrounds himself with uplifting people, happy people. Happiness is contagious. Sadness is also contagious. You always want to surround yourself with the right people. At work, friends, and so on and so forth. A Harvard study was conducted on the causes or sources of happiness. And one of the three main sources of happiness is surrounding yourself with uplifting people. It's relationships, it's friendships. Money and power were not part of the sources of happiness. Goal setting is also another source of happiness. The third golden rule is exceptional execution. A study was conducted on Fortune 500 companies, and 80% of the CEOs were happy with the strategies they have in place, but only 20% were happy with the implementation of these strategies. So an omnipreneur pays attention to details and to implementation. So in our family, not only we have the life plan, but we have also an execution dashboard that breaks down the annual goals to quarterly goals. A dashboard includes timelines, milestones, and champions. And I have shared in the book a couple of templates of these dashboards for companies and individuals. The next golden rule is imagine the next big thing. And this is my story with UC Berkeley has. I represent a second-generation family business that my father started in 1962. And we have maintained since 1962 a ratio of 1-to-1. For every dollar we distribute as dividend, we match it with a philanthropic dollar. But only until 2001, when we shifted our philanthropic dollar from a checkbook philanthropy to strategic philanthropy. And we started a foundation called the STARS Foundation in the UK that supports NGOs supporting disadvantaged children in the countries with the highest under 5 mortality rate. In one of my visits in 2013 to an NGO in the slums of Nairobi that was supported by STARS Foundation, the STARS Impact Awards, that provides capacity building, unrestricted funding, and brand equity enhancement through PR and communication. Nairobit, an NGO that provides IT training to reduce unemployment in the slums of Nairobi. And I asked the person responsible of that NGO about what is it he benefited most from the STARS Impact Award. Immediately he said capacity building, the training we are receiving and the capacity building. So I asked ourselves, why do we have to restrict providing capacity building to the STARS Impact Award winners? Why not to leverage the power of technology, the online education, the MOOCs revolution, the massive open online courses, and offer capacity building to all NGOs? There are millions of NGOs around the world supporting over 2 billion people. So I reached out to my dear friend Laura. And I asked her about what she thinks if we introduce a free online education platform to support NGOs around the world. And she got excited about the idea, and she got excited about the I am, therefore I am, the finish line, that we wanted to provide capacity building to benefit 100 million people by 2020. And we started a strategic partnership with UC Berkeley has and incubated the whole initiative here in UC Berkeley and launched it in September 2015. We were expecting few hundred enrollments. We received in the 5th week over 450,000 enrollments from over 190 countries. So that showed the demand and the need for capacity building and education online for social sector leaders and leaders of NGOs. Today, Philanthropy University has evolved, and it's introducing 2.0 later this year that will introduce, as part of our value proposition, what we like to call the 3 Cs. Not only capacity building, but also in form of courses, but also capital and community. So thank you, Laura, for the support we have received. But this is the kind of, this rule can help stimulating. And that's what we have applied that has led to the creation and the launch of Philanthropy University. The next golden rule is honey as money. It is the currency of ideas. It's the currency of innovation. It's the currency of creativity. I captured in the book so many stories of individuals that applied the honey as money. One of the characters I captured in the book is a gentleman by the name of Jeremy Gilley. One day he asked himself, what if the world stopped violence and conflicts at least for 24 hours? And he wrote to the Undersecretary of the UN about his idea. He loved his idea and gave him an appointment in New York. Jeremy Gilley lives in London. He had limited means, and he could not even make it to New York for the appointment. So he wrote to the CEO of British Airways and asked him to sponsor his trip. He agreed. He borrowed a suit from his friend, a tie from his father, and he flew to New York and met with the Undersecretary of the UN. He told him, you have one problem. We need to pass a resolution, and 2 countries need to sponsor the resolution. So he spent considerable time lobbying in the UK and Costa Rica, and they both agreed to sponsor the resolution. And they passed the resolution. And 21st of September has become the day for Peace One Day in the UN. In 2005, he convinced the US forces and the Taliban in Afghanistan to put their arms down at least for 24 hours on the 21st of September to facilitate distributing vaccines for children against polio. And they succeeded to vaccinating 2 million children in that day. So far, Peace One Day has impacted over 1 billion people around the world. So the 21st of September has become a day for Peace One Day, where schools promote stopping bullying, and conflicts are put on a pause at least for 24 hours so people have a feel of the value of non-violence and non-conflict environment. So he made an impact, a significant impact, without having any financial resources. So that's the honey as money rule that an omnipreneur uses. The next golden rule that an omnipreneur uses is design organically. Our philanthropic initiative started in that form. The STARS Impact Award identifies the stars of local NGOs in the countries with the highest under 5 mortality rate and provide them with the support they need in terms of, we provide them with unrestricted funding, which is a rare commodity in the philanthropic space. Today, unfortunately, NGOs spend a good amount of their time and energy trying to look the way the donors want them to look, which may not be the optimal solution for the local problem. So we always say best solutions are homegrown solutions. My way or the highway does not work. I like to call that intellectual imperialism. So far, this program has resulted in impacting 5 million children and their families in over 70 countries through 140 NGOs. So this is the power of designing organically. The next golden rule is collaborate to accelerate. An omnipreneur is a collaborator. He collaborates with others. I had the privilege once of accompanying Minister Mentor Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore. And I asked him back then, how did you move Singapore from a third world country to a first world country in such a short period of time? And he said, let me share the story of a Southeast Asian country that is so underdeveloped and lagging behind. The ruler of that country one day invited his advisors and told them, I have a great project. What, Your Majesty? We're going to produce a documentary on our nation because not many people around the world know our country. Fantastic, Your Majesty. Not only that, I will be the script writer because not many of you really understand the nitty-gritty of our culture. Great, Your Majesty. Not only that, I will be the cameraman because there are certain angles not many people can really see like me. Not only that, I will also be the lead actor because I can really represent how our people look like. And he kept on talking about all the roles he's going to play in this project. So Minister Mentor Lee Kuan Yew, he told me, look where they are today. They are lagging behind all the Southeast Asian countries. Singapore is not like this. Singapore is about having the right people in the right positions and making sure that they all function on the same page, on the same wavelength. They are all so synchronized with each another, like an orchestra. And I'm only the maestro. So this is the power of collaboration and making sure that the collaborators speak the same language and on the same page. That is the kind of impact you can generate, like what we have seen in Singapore. Mm-hmm. The next golden rule is delight the stakeholder. When I was in public service, I was responsible of investment promotion in Saudi Arabia. In the US, they say customer is king. In Japan, they say customer is God. So how to delight really the stakeholder, whether your partners, your customers, your shareholders. In the book, I shared one story that made a significant impact because we really went the extra mile in terms of delighting our stakeholder. A Chinese company applied for an investment license, and we decided to really personalize the service. So we issued an investment license in color red. We gave it a lucky number in Chinese, 8888. We produced the whole license in the Chinese language, and we even hand-delivered it in Beijing to the a company that wanted to invest in the country. That kind of service led the company to quadruple their investments in the country. So the more you delight the stakeholder, the more return you will get. An omnipreneur takes risk. And when I was in public service, applying preneurship to public service, and this is, by the way, the title of my first book, Governpreneurship, is important to make a difference. So we asked ourselves what it takes to stimulate further flow of foreign direct investments into the country. And we looked at a product around the world called special economic zones. There are thousands of them around the world, but most of them are failures. The successful ones share three key characteristics. They have a single regulator, they have a pool of adequate talents to the targeted clusters, and they are always next door to a world-class city. So Jurong Island is next door to Singapore. Jabal Ali is next door to Dubai. So we searched for a world-class city in Saudi, and we decided to come up with a new product. And we called it not a special economic zone, we called it an economic city. But the risk we took is that we allowed the private sector to float the whole city in the stock exchange as greenfield project. The city we floated in the stock exchange is the only city in the world that is traded in a stock exchange, called King Abdullah Economic City, north of Jeddah, 120 miles. And it includes all the ingredients of a special economic zone and a world-class city. So it has transportation assets, education assets, health assets, recreation assets, residential assets, and industrial assets. Last year, the seaport of this city was ranked the fastest growing seaport in the world. And the shareholders have already made 70% on the share of this city. So this is an interesting model, a new model. We took big risk as a public service, as a government agency, but it has paid dividends. And an omnipreneur always takes risk. The last golden rule is share your story. I have been associated with the Cleveland Clinic Foundation for so many years. Started when I used to accompany my parents when they go to a Cleveland Clinic. My mother suffered from cardiac problems. My father suffered from Parkinson. And I used to spend hours and hours waiting in the hospital. And it was a very depressing, dull and cold place. Until 2004, when a cardiologist by the name of Toby Cosgrove who had 22 patents, took over the leadership of Cleveland Clinic Foundation, and he led a massive transformation. Today, I serve on the leadership board of Cleveland Clinic. When you go to Cleveland Clinic in Cleveland, Ohio, and visit the hospital, you think you are either in a museum or in a resort. The place is full of art, great music, friendly people, warm people, smiling people. And one of Toby Cosgrove's great qualities is communication and how he shares his stories. And I'm going to share with you one of the clips, of many clips he produced to promote a certain culture in Cleveland Clinic. It's about promoting empathy and making everybody compassionate. He always tells his people, put yourself in someone else's shoes. And then you need to treat people the same way you want to be treated. So I'll quickly share with you a 4-minute clip that can show you how Toby used his communication and sharing story skills to get his message across and create the culture he wanted to have. As a result, today you go to Cleveland Clinic, the waiting time is almost zero. The hospital in the 80s was ranked #1 in the US in cardiology only. Today they are ranked #1 in at least a dozen specialties. So the impact he has made has been phenomenal. So with this, I have covered for you today the ingredients of omnipreneurship and what it takes to be an omnipreneur. An omnipreneur lives a life of meaning. An omnipreneurial organization is a purpose-driven organization. By 2020, the global workforce will be 50% millennials, of which 60% like to work for purpose-driven companies than receiving a big check. So I would encourage you to be the next omnipreneurs, and I hope my book will be of value to you. Thank you very much.
Well, it's a very moving and inspiring presentation, and I just want to echo what you just said. We have in the room with us entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs from all over the world, and as you go and create your lives, think about these rules and principles and create solutions which are sustainable. They're sustainable, but they're solutions to very pressing challenges that we face around the world. So this is a perfect presentation for this audience. We'll all take the book and study deeply. I'm going to hand it out to my son and all of his friends. Millennial generation, and they are very committed to this. I want to have a little time for the audience, and you've said something about Philanthropy University already, but one of the things you also talked about is the need to constantly design and make adjustments in what you do in response to your customers. So in the Philanthropy University, this started with the notion of capacity building, non-government organizations in the global south, in the most disadvantaged populations. We have the 7 foundational courses online. But as you think now going forward what we've learned, how do you make adjustments? What do you, we learn from our customers. What should we do, or what are you thinking of doing to continue to build out this wonderful mission? And there may be people in this audience who've taken one of the courses, who are interested in taking one of the courses, and your course on leadership is going to be online. But what are some of the innovations in that space?
Well, it's an ongoing process. Again, we are applying all the omnipreneurial practices and imagining the next big thing and collaborating to accelerate the next version of PU would have a much more comprehensive offering to NGOs in the global south. And we capsulized the offering in 3 C's, courses, capital, and community. And it will probably be, with time, a south-to-south interaction. As I said in my earlier remarks, best solutions are homegrown solutions.
Right.
We just need to identify these solutions and amplify and spread these best practices. So PU will evolve with time. It has attracted lots of attention and interest, and it is badly needed, and it will keep on raising the bar and looking different from time to time.
So you can change. One of the things that you have learned in all of your philanthropic work is this importance of content or course and community and capital. I think that's a very important combination. So one of the great challenges, of course, is raising the capital or finding the capital to do this. And certainly your philanthropy and other philanthropies can do this. But one of the things that I think we're also thinking about and discussing, and I've been discussing it with you too, is impact investing. Some of the students may have been, or teams may have been there last night when we were talking about there's grants, and you know, Philanthropy University is a completely free online service at this point, so it's being funded by the philanthropic foundation that you have. Over time, some activities may be funded by some impact investing, and I was wondering if have you in your own work, both as so you also had a company which has initiatives around the world to address problems. So you're putting some funding, which is in that. Have you talk about how to raise capital for these?
Well, the new model, and we have today with us the CEO of Philanthropy University, Connor. He's sitting on the first row. So if anyone wants to have more information on PU, please feel free to reach out to him. And we have the whole team here with us as well.
Headquartered now in Oakland, so we have a local a local presence that really is driving this.
So the new model is a B2B to C based. So we are targeting 5,000 NGOs in the Global South that we will provide capacity building to. These 5,000 NGOs have a population of 100 million people they support. And we are doing this in partnership with other foundations as well that have communities of NGOs that we can access and tap into. The C for capital is about matchmaking and showcasing these NGOs with philanthropists and donors.
We should see today, during the day, it will be interesting to look at the financial models of the teams and the extent to which, in thinking about their financing, are they thinking about a philanthropic form of financing or a for-profit form of financing, or even in some cases a government form of financing, because in some places there will be some government support for these kinds of things. So the matchmaking becomes very important. You can match from all of these pools of capital.
Right.
Yeah. Let me ask, since this is a group of entrepreneurs and you go around the world, when you were in the STARS Foundation choosing, you give awards, you finance some of these NGOs, have you run across, and there are probably some examples in the book, very interesting, innovative, locally grown solutions? I mean, so basically you have a problem, you understand the problem at the local level, you try to develop a local solution. I was just wondering if you might want to talk about a couple of those, maybe
Sure.
in the book too.
Well, there are, of course, a number of examples in the book, but the whole concept of the STARS Impact Award started as empowering and supporting local solutions and not to impose a solution on them, and provide them with unrestricted funding to feel free in terms of where best to deploy our funding. But of course, when we say unrestricted, we don't mean unaudited, but we need to audit the impact. There are a number of great examples. I referred to Nairobi in my remarks because that was a turning point. That's when the PU concept surfaced. That is a small NGO that operates within the slums of Nairobi and provide IT training to reduce unemployment. They've been doing a fantastic job, and the environment they operate in, the challenges they face are unbelievable. Yet they have made a significant impact and created thousands of jobs for the community and the slum in Nairobi.
I know that you, because I've had the honor of both being a chair and attending your global entrepreneurship, your philanthropreneurship summits. And a regular participant and a close friend of yours is Paul Pullman of Unilever. So I wonder if you might talk a little bit about the role of global companies in addressing these challenges along with you. So there's foundation support, there's NGO support, there are very large global companies who are trying to address global challenges. And I wonder if you might, and you talked about the team approach, so if you could talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Well, Paul Polman is a dear friend who gave me the foreword for Omnipreneurship. And he's also co-chairing the Philanthropreneurship Forum.
Wow.
It's about promoting the next generation of best practices in philanthropy to help scalability, sustainability, and impact. Paul and I are also on the Commission for Sustainability and Business Development, promoting, aligning business models with the SDGs. Unilever is a great example of a purpose-driven organization. But we are in the Commission promoting the alignment with the SDGs, not just to look good, not as a CSR, but also for value creation and having a double bottom line. Unilever's products that stand for a purpose, they grow 5 times faster than the products that don't. We published the first report of the Commission in January this year, and we have sized the price of aligning business models with the SDGs. And we came up with a price tag of $12 trillion until 2032 in 4 sectors: cities, energy, food and agriculture, and health and well-being. Mm-hmm. And under each one, we have 4 verticals, highlighting 60 hot market spots. So what we are saying, it is profitable to be a purpose-driven company. You should not look at sustainability as a standalone CSR/PR. Actually, we should get rid of CSR, and we should have a more inclusive business model that includes giving, earning, and sustaining. And the good news is that it is profitable. You create more value on the long run. And as I said toward the end of my remarks, you will be much more attractive for top talents because millennials
Yes.
prefer to work for purpose-driven yes. organizations. So we are yes. positioning mm-hmm. sustainability as a value creation, as a profitable way to do business.
So for those of you who don't, I happen to have read this report. It's a very good report. The UN has developed an agenda for 2030. The agenda for 2030 is leave no one behind. It's an inclusive growth agenda. And the business community with Amr's leadership and Paul's leadership wrote that report. I was involved in a report also on what to do in the area of gender equity. Actually, we've interacted on that issue. But a lot of again, thinking about the ventures in this room, the teams, the problems they're trying to solve, these can be, the world has committed to these sustainable development goals. There's a lot that needs to be done. You're $12 trillion. And there are real entrepreneurial opportunities here for purpose-driven, sustainable and scalable entities. So this is a very important development, and I really want to underscore that. I want to bring up something that I raised at the beginning, but again, to go back, you mentioned that you had a conversation with Lee Kuan Yew, but you also brought him to one of you may have brought him to more than one, but I happen to have been at the summit where he spoke. I don't know if you remember this, but your voice, Amr's voice gave out. So he asked me, one of the great honors of my life was really to interview Lee Kuan Yew in front of his summit. And again, you have to think here, it's not traditional to have women in those roles in this setting. But what was wonderful was what you were doing there with that is you were challenging your audience to think in creative new ways. You were saying, look at Singapore, look at this country, which actually is a multi-religious, multicultural country with a significant Muslim population, but it's multicultural, and look what it's achieved. And there was a risk, you talked about taking a risk, there was a little bit of a risk in that. You were taking a risk of having one of the most visionary, successful leaders of a country in the world sitting down and saying to the leadership of your country, this is the way you should proceed. And I just thought it was remarkable. It captured so much of what your principles are about. So.
The STARS Impact Award is an inclusive approach. Unfortunately, 60% of global giving is religion-driven. So from day one, we wanted our giving to be inclusive. We are in so many countries supporting NGOs in the disadvantaged children's space in areas like protection, education, health, and WASH, water, sanitation, and hygiene. And we have all kinds of backgrounds and religions. And this is the whole philosophy of omnipreneurship. We need to be inclusive. The first slide I shared with you, that is coming from the Oxfam report in terms of inequality, climate change challenges. Each one of us can play a role, and each one of us can contribute, and a little contribution will make a ripple effect at the end of the day.
So I want to leave you all with that challenge. That is the challenge. In everything we do, in every minute that we are alive, we can do this. And it's very inspiring. And Berkeley is just delighted to be a partner with you in Philanthropy University as one of many ways, but a very important, scalable, sustainable way to build capacity. So I want to thank you very much for your remarks here and for your leadership, for your friendship, and for your inspiration.